You can spend your whole life trying to improve everything around you, while never realizing that the real battlefield has always been inside your own mind. People invest in courses, strategies, tools, routines, even in other people. But almost no one invests in the interior world that produces every decision, every reaction, every limit, and every breakthrough. Your mindset is the first investment you ever made, long before you even knew what success was supposed to look like. And yet, for most people, it is the asset they undervalue the most. There's a quiet moment in every person's life when they realize that their results were never shaped by effort alone. They were shaped by the beliefs they carried while making that effort. Not the loud beliefs, the hidden ones, the silent expectations about what they deserve, the unconscious stories about what's possible, the inherited fears they never noticed were borrowed. These invisible patterns shape more of your life than your visible actions ever will. Most people don't realize this because their mindset feels like just the way they are. But your mindset is not your identity. It's your operating system, and you've been running it on outdated software without questioning who installed it. You don't fail because you're weak. You fail because you defend the version of yourself you've outgrown. Mindset isn't a motivational concept, it's a financial one. It determines the return on every dream, the leverage behind every choice, the clarity behind every plan. If your inner world is chaotic, no amount of external strategy will save you. If your inner world is aligned, even your smallest steps compound. And once you understand that, you can no longer ignore the truth. Your life doesn't change when circumstances shift. Your life changes when you do. You weren't born with your current mindset. It was assembled slowly through moments you barely remember. A teacher's comment that made you feel small. A parent's fear disguised as protection. A failure that felt too heavy for the age you were. You didn't choose these experiences, but you built interpretations around them, and those interpretations became the truths that still guide you today. Most people never question these old interpretations. They just assume their self-doubt is realism, their fear is caution, their hesitation is logic. But what if the limits you see aren't real limits, just old conclusions you never outgrew? Your mind collects patterns the way a room collects dust. Leave it unattended long enough, and it becomes hard to see clearly. But clarity is not something you stumble into. It's something you cultivate. And when you don't cultivate it, you end up living a life shaped more by reaction than intention. The mind doesn't ask whether a belief is helpful. It only asks whether it is familiar. That's why so many people feel stuck without knowing they're stuck. Their mind keeps repeating the same story because it's the only one it knows. You don't need to force your life to change. You need to update the story your mind believes. The most expensive thing in your life is not your mistakes. It's the mindset that keeps repeating them. People imagine that success is built through discipline, but discipline without self-understanding becomes self-punishment. You can grind your way through goals while quietly eroding your confidence, your joy, and your connection to yourself. A mindset built on fear of failure doesn't create excellence. It creates exhaustion. Your thoughts are not neutral. They create emotional gravity. A thought repeated for years becomes heavy, like a planet pulling your decisions into its orbit. If you believe you're not good enough, every opportunity feels dangerous. If you believe you don't deserve more, every dream feels unrealistic. If you believe growth exposes you, every step forward feels like a threat. Your mindset is the environment your ambition has to survive in, and ambition cannot grow in a hostile environment. The people who change their lives don't start with action, they start with identity. They stop negotiating with smallness. They stop accepting the emotional crumbs of their old beliefs. They stop carrying the weight of thoughts that were never theirs to begin with. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your self-perception. Look closely at your patterns, not your wishes, not your intentions, but what you actually do. patterns expose your mindset more honestly than words ever will. Why do you procrastinate on the things that matter? Why do you overthink simple decisions? Why do you play small around people who think big? Why do you shrink when you should expand? These aren't personality traits. They're internal negotiations happening beneath your awareness. The mind always chooses the option that protects the identity you currently hold, even if that identity is outdated. If your identity is built around survival, you will reject abundance. If it's built around insecurity, you will sabotage confidence. If it's built around fear, you will retreat from opportunities that would transform you. People think change is about adding new habits, but real change is about subtracting old identities. You don't need to become someone else. You need to stop being the version of yourself that was built on fear, scarcity, and borrowed limitations. Your future doesn't depend on becoming more. It depends on becoming true. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive compounding. Just like money grows exponentially when reinvested, thoughts grow exponentially when repeated. A single fear repeated becomes a worldview. A single doubt repeated becomes a personality. A single moment of shame repeated becomes a self-concept. Your mindset compounds whether you manage it or not. This is why some people thrive even with fewer resources. Their internal compounding is positive, and why others stay stuck even with advantages. Their internal compounding drains them. Your mind is always investing. Every belief pays dividends. Every fear charges interest. Every excuse grows roots. Every courageous thought multiplies into new possibilities you couldn't see before. Change doesn't begin when you force yourself to think positively. Change begins when you stop treating negative thoughts as facts and start treating them as habits. A thought that goes unchallenged becomes a cage. A thought you examine becomes a key. Your mindset affects not only your thoughts, it affects your perception of time, opportunity, and risk. Someone with a scarcity mindset sees risk in every step. Someone with a growth mindset sees risk in standing still. Someone with a wounded identity looks for warning signs. Someone with a grounded identity looks for alignment. It's the same world, but the inner lens makes it feel entirely different. The truth is simple. You are not experiencing life as it is. You are experiencing life as you are. The world you see is filtered through the narratives you've never questioned. This is why two people can face the same failure. One collapses, the other evolves. One sees proof that they're not enough, the other sees data they can use. One sees an ending, the other sees a beginning. Your mindset doesn't just color your reality, it constructs it. And until you understand that, you'll keep trying to change your circumstances without realizing you must first change the lens through which those circumstances pass. You don't need a better life, you need a better way of seeing your life. The greatest shift happens when you realize your mindset is not just a psychological concept, it's an economic force. It dictates your ability to spot opportunities, negotiate your worth, endure discomfort, learn quickly, and adapt intelligently. People with a strong mindset don't succeed because they're lucky. They succeed because their internal world is organized, aligned, and stable enough to support the weight of their ambition. Your mind is the first place where wealth is built, and the first place where it's lost. It's where you negotiate your future, where you decide your value, where you interpret failure, where you recover from setbacks, where you choose whether to shrink or expand. And if you've been undervaluing your mindset, the symptoms are already visible. You overthink, you hesitate, you self-sabotage, you tolerate too little or settle for too much. You mistake comfort for safety, you confuse familiarity with truth. But once you strengthen your mindset, the entire map of your life redraws itself. Doors appear where you thought there were walls. Strength appears where you thought there was weakness. Possibility appears where you saw nothing. Your mindset is not a detail. It is the blueprint of your destiny. In the end, everything you chase eventually leads you back to the same question: who are you becoming through the way you pursue your life? Not who you pretend to be, not who others think you are, but the person who lives behind your eyes when everything goes quiet. That person, your inner world, your mindset, determines the fate of every ambition you hold. And yet, it's the one investment most people ignore until their life begins to collapse under the weight of unexamined thoughts. Your mindset is not the voice in your head. It's the architect of that voice. It shapes the stories you tell yourself, the risks you take, the opportunities you notice, the relationships you build, the challenges you avoid, and the future you believe is possible. Your external life expands or contracts based on the internal rules you've never questioned. Most people wait for proof before they believe in themselves, but proof comes after belief, not before. Confidence is not a reward, it's a decision. And once you decide to upgrade the way you think, you stop negotiating with the smaller version of yourself that has been running your life. You don't change your life when you achieve more. You change it when you outgrow the mindset that kept you surviving instead of living. So the real question isn't whether you're capable. It's whether you're willing to invest in the only asset that determines everything else: your mind, your story, your identity, the person you're becoming. Because the greatest form of wealth is not what you gain, it's who you become capable of being.